Hey everybody, this is my micro-learning experience on AI as a part of the group. My group of learners are first-year college students. The way this micro-learning experience would be delivered in a real course would be as a video lecture embedded in a discussion board. So, thinking critically, AI text generators and you. So before we start, well, there are many AI text generators based on large language models available today. We'll be using ChatGPT for this lesson. So go ahead and make a free account at this link here, chat.openai.com, and keep it open until we get to the activity. So you can pause if you need to. All right, so now we're going to get into the basics, how this all works and why you should think critically about it. So another pause. Before we go any further, make sure you answer this question here. What do you already know or think you know about AI like ChatGPT? Write down your answer, keep it with you till the end of the lesson, and then ideally you'll be able to see how your understanding of the topic has changed and or expanded. Okay, so how do large language models or LLMs like the one that powers ChatGPT work? So on the one hand, we can answer this by talking about how they're trained. They're trained in two steps. First is deep learning, where the model is fed a insane amount of data, and then learns by interacting it with itself how to get better at forming one word after another that produces human sounding and ideally accurate text. So it's trained on the statistical likelihood of words occurring in a certain order. The second step of training is ratings by human volunteers. Like humans go in and are like, okay, is this a good response for whatever reason? Is it accurate? Is it helpful, etc.? So essentially, the way that the text generation AI works is that it's adding one word at a time based on the statistical likelihood that this word will occur after another in this context. But on some level, we don't fully know how they all work, and that partly has to do with the context piece that I just mentioned. The exact ways that the large language model makes connections internally, like with itself, like how it links certain ideas together, we don't fully know. It's called a black box model, and I have more reading about that in the references slide at the end of this lecture. So they don't actually know anything. They're just simulating the likelihood of these words occurring. I hope that makes sense, but essentially they're very, very good at mimicking human communication. So on that same note, they are not search engines, so they don't have real-time access to the web the way that Google, Bing, etc. do. Okay, so here are some ways you can use text generative AI to help you in college, and it tends to be pretty darn good at doing these things. The first is brainstorming for a project or essay topic. The next is getting feedback on your essay regarding things like grammar, tone, and clarity. The little caveat that it's not infallible. I've seen it make grammar mistakes before, but it generally is pretty good at recognizing what issues may be going on. So I still say it's worth a shot to try it. And then finally, it can help with adult life skills, so help you to fine tune resumes, cover letters, or requests for assignment as extensions from your professor, stuff like that. All right, so what can't they do? You probably already have an idea of that now based on what we talked about in terms of how it's trained, how it works. But what they can't do is fully understand the meaning of a question. So this can lead it to be prone to making certain errors. For example, if you ask it to produce like however many names of real cities that end with the letter N or any other letter, it tends to start making errors towards the end and return city names that don't fit that criteria. The next is it generally can't do complex math without errors. The next is that it can't produce legitimate citations. This is a big one. So if you ask it for research papers on a particular topic, it can't return to you like real papers, although sometimes it'll give you real links, but the paper won't be on the topic that you're asking about. Sometimes it just gets lucky with DOIs. And then finally, it can't reliably let you know what its limitations are. So it can't let you know, hey, I'm not capable of with zero mistakes listing this amount of cities that end in the letter N because it likely isn't aware itself of that. So it can't really let you know what its limitations are. All right, so now the issue of academic honesty when it comes to AI. So in a nutshell, be diligent, make sure you know the rules at your institution. At FGCU, we have these policies at this link. I have that in the references as well, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to go to that now. Also, make sure if you're quoting something from ChatGPT that you make sure you use a citation saying that you utilized it. All of the major style manuals have released recommendations on how to do this according to their particular guidelines. And then here's the activity. So I want you to make ChatGPT hallucinate or come up with something untrue. So the challenge is to do it through honest means. So I want you to ask earnest questions that could be asked by somebody who's actually trying to use ChatGPT for its intended purposes. Remember some of the shortcomings we discussed earlier. And in addition, use this opportunity to research what questions and tasks ChatGPT tends to struggle with. See if you uncover anything additional that we didn't talk about. This might be helpful if you're like, okay, it's given me pretty accurate stuff so far, which is a good thing, obviously. But in the interest of completing this task, if you need to do additional research, that's perfectly fine. And then share what you discovered with the class using the discussion board set up for this lesson. Great. So now here are the references and further watching / reading sources. I also have the links in the description. Great.